Internet, around here I go by Cat of Diamonds, and welcome to my Fannish Reviews. I know it's been a long time and I've had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, so I haven't been able to make videos as much as I would have liked to, like basically at all. And I just knew when I finished This Song Will Save Your Life by Leila that I had to carve out time to make a standalone review of it. It was so good, so poignant, it just, I had heard internet buzz around this book, and then I had read the synopsis. That being that it centers around this girl, Elise, who is in her early years of high school and has not had a good go of it and has been very just isolated in growing up and feeling out of sorts and out of place, and just like she can't find a reason for her life to go on. And so she is actually suicidal because she thinks that everyone will be better off without her. So while yes, there is a trigger warning regarding suicide, suicidal thoughts, and suicide attempts in this book, it is so good, so good. I just want everyone ever to read this book, as long as you know that you are probably okay reading about suicidal thoughts in a life surrounding that kind of depression, and that won't trigger you. As long as you feel strong enough to read this book, absolutely read this. To talk about why this book meant so much to me, it does get a little spoilery both in this book and about my personal history with suicidal thoughts, attempts at suicide, and depression. So that's a little bit heavy. If you don't want to stick around for that, I totally understand. Just go add this to your Goodreads to read shelf and carve out some time in your life to read this book. It's a quick read, it's a fantastic read, and I just think it's totally worth it. So with the spoilers, Elise does actually have an attempt of suicide in the beginning pages of this book. I think within the first few chapters. She has been majorly bullied and isolated for most of her life, and has a family that kind of marches to their own drummer, and so she doesn't feel like she can fit in with other people's normal families, and she also doesn't feel like she has anyone to talk to about her feelings. And the beginning of this book starts out really hopeful with the fact of she's like, I'm going to remake myself into this mainstream person that everyone at school will accept me instead of bully me, yet it just completely fails because kids are mean. Unfortunately, it's a very prevalent and widespread, not just in America but in other countries too, that we are a dog-eat-dog society, and that culture starts in our elementary schools and with our youth, and it just grows and grows and grows to prove yourself better than everyone else, and to do that by tearing other people down. And Elise is a product of that isolation and bullying. She's so hopeful in trying to remake herself, and it just doesn't go right, and pushes her to attempt suicide. And while she is bleeding out, she calls a classmate, and that classmate calls 911, and therefore she realizes that no, she didn't want to commit suicide. She wanted the attention. She wanted people to notice her. Of course, this is in no way disregarding other people's feelings. This is one fictional character and the way she felt about her life. So of course there are many reasons and feelings behind suicide and suicidal thoughts, and her voice just resonated with me. That there are these rules in society that you don't do this, and you do this, and you don't do this, and you make sure you know this, and you make sure you have these facts, and you know these things, and you like this music, and all these unwritten rules of how to be accepted and popular in society that you just, no matter how much you study, is what she does in the beginning of this book, is studies how to make mainstream and make all the right choices and say the right things, and you still can't fit in completely. She finds DJing to be like the saving grace of turning herself around. She finds something that she loves and she's good at and she's passionate about, and it forces her into these situations that have her grow and learn about herself and learn about the world and learn that everybody has something that holds them back, and then that you have to move past to really become who you are. I don't really know how to put into words the feeling this book gave me when I was reading her words and reading how she saw life and how much it resonated with my younger self. I really love that she also sneaks out at night just to go on walks and gets away from life, and this is just how she deals with her insomnia and her depression and her just like getting out there. Even though these walks kind of isolated her, she stumbles upon something brilliant and it kind of just sucks her back into the world and gets her hooked on life, so to speak. And then on top of everything else, there is the romantic counterpart in most of the story, and instead of it being love at first sight, it's a somewhat slow burn, and they get together out of kind of convenience and of, I think this is what you're supposed to do, I think this is how you make yourself more happy, and she learns that just having a romantic partner doesn't fix everything. People make mistakes no matter how old they are and what path they are on, and sometimes the mistakes that they make are going to hurt you and you can't really do anything about it but move past that person and let them go, and make sure that you surround yourself with people who support you and aren't using you or using your presence in their life to heal or medicate their own issues. It's just such a real book about fictional people that I just loved it so much. It was so moving. I couldn't stop reading it once I got halfway through. I had so many other things to do, and yet I put them aside to finish this book, so hopefully you decide to do the same thing, and I've rambled about this enough. So obviously you know my shelfability is buy or even bring in the fangirls, because that's definitely how I feel about this book. So yeah, have you read this book? Let me know in the comments. I've rambled, so I feel bad. All of the things that YouTube people say about comments, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until my next review or video or whatever it is, happy reading.